Here we go with the town, Leander Club A and Nottingham Rowing Club and Leander Club on the water. And keeping an eye on the start, Adrian, just watching very carefully to the right of your picture, Nottingham Rowing Club and Leander. Yeah, they've corrected the back central, just heading towards the booms momentarily there.
Yeah, so far done a good job here. Here the Leander Compsons forward. Got off to a good start yesterday. They rowed against Nottingham Rowing Club and won easily. It was Leander and Nottingham raced against Aberdeen, and Robert Gordon won by length of 3/4. But both crews very similar times to the barrier yesterday. Leander a little bit quicker perhaps. And here Leander moved out to about a length lead early on in the race.
Leander have really got off to a flyer here.
So you can see there's one stroke girl here of the Nottingham Rowing Club and Leander crews from Leander against their clubmates and the other crew on the far side.
Yeah, so rivalry, banter rights.
For sure, I'm sure there's a bit of chat going on.
Quite an interesting situation, that.
It is. This Leander crew hasn't raced at all really this year. They've been put together, but they've been rowing for the British team, and they've been rowing in some World Cups and some smaller boats. So these girls really are at the top of the British setup, and just basically have come together for a few weeks in preparation for Henley without having raced in this combination. So far doing a good job, moving out to a couple of lengths by the time they got to the barrier.
So there's Nottingham and Leander in the picture. Their work to do.
The Leander crew, they went to the third World Cup race. Two of the girls were in the Cox's pair. They came fourth, and others were in the Cox's four. So they've been racing the top athletes. They've been racing against Olympic crews this summer in other competitions.
I always wonder how much of an advantage it is for the Leander boat we can see there in the picture right now. The fact they're out on this water day in, day out, it is their local stretch of water there. The boathouse down by the bridge, they can drill this as often as they like, whereas the boats who have had to travel, albeit only 3 of the 4 from Nottingham, it's a bit more of an ask, isn't it?
It is. It's familiar territory. I mean, the river does change considerably when they build this massive infrastructure. It does feel like a different place. But, steering here, Leander really are in the middle of the course.
Yeah, Leander have moved across. The umpire just having a look.
Not really doing much about it. It obviously feels like it's not going to impinge on the result.
Unmoved at the moment, the umpire. Just having a look at Davis, Long, Irwin and Cresford in that Leander boat. They have moved out central, but they're a long way ahead. That will slightly come into play, but Nottingham and Leander.
This is one of those things that the Regatta, only 2 clubs can be named in the entry. So despite here it's been called Nottingham Rowing Club and Leander, we can see from what they're wearing there's 2 Nottingham Rowing Club members, 1 Leander and 1 Tideway Sculler. So they can wear their club kit, but only 2 of the clubs can be named.
Only 2 on the programme.
Some of those 8s would be, if you had every single club, it would be unreadable.
Yeah, you need to be careful on the left of the picture here. Nottingham steering towards the booms. They've corrected that again. Looking at the stroke seat there. Olivia Caesar in the stroke seat. And Annie Campbell-Ord, Bethan Walters and Lucy Holgate in that boat.
Yeah, and it's a well-drilled crew. They're rowing really nicely, good blade work.
They haven't raced together before this year, before Henley Regatta as a 4.
So both combinations are new combinations.
Yes.
And here the Leander crew just showing their experience. I mean, it's one of the benefits when you go to race at a World Cup, you understand what the standard is really like. It opens your eyes as to the kind of quality of training and the toughness of racing you need to be able to deliver.
So tell me this, Adrian, and this is something I've always wanted to ask someone in the know, and you are that unfortunate soul I'm going to pick on for this question. How then, Nottingham have got 2 in the boat, and Leander have got 1. Did you say Tideway Scullers was the other?
Yeah, Tideway Scullers.
So
yeah.
how have they come together? Are they just mates who happen to get on the phone or communicate and say let's put a boat in, or how do they become a 4?
there's lots of different ways, I guess. There's some of the rules of the eligibility of the regatta, because some of the girls may not be eligible for their club events. So, for example, you've got the Wargrave for the Tideway Scholars, and they've got 2/8 worth of girls racing here. But if you've done on 23s or that kind of thing, or you've rode at American University this year, you will not be eligible to compete in that event, so you have to pick a different event. And I think sometimes you get these athletes who are within their own club, who've been training in their club all year, but they're not eligible for certain events here, and then the coaches just ring each other up and say, we want to give these athletes a race.
So it's the coaches who might put the boat together rather than the individuals who are in the boat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they may know each other and they may have rung each other, but quite often the coaches will help the athletes find a row in a crew the right caliber for them, instead of training all year, racing some regattas domestically, and then being on the towpath here, which would be rubbish.
You see, I thought they were bumping into each other in the pub and thought that'd be fun, let's put a boat in, like I do with my Sunday morning football team.
I think we've had a few of those crews in the past, haven't we? Some old laggards who meet up and do a bit of a fun row at the Henley.
Well, some of these old laggards have proved to be rather useful as well. That's the annoying thing.
Well, it was a bit like the two boys yesterday in the double scull against the Irish. They've had a great international career beforehand, and they just decided in September
give it a whirl.
Give it a whirl.
Yes.
They weren't expecting quite the entry this year. The quality of the crews here. It's fantastic, isn't it? Despite everybody wondering whether this was going to go ahead. 46 foreign entries. This regatta.
Yeah, and the scale of the crowds yesterday, having gone up the course at tea time yesterday when the crowds were at their max, it was good to see crowds back in their great numbers. I imagine the crowds will be greater this afternoon.
You see on the right hand side there's two crews, 2/8 just boated. They've pushed off from the landing stage on the far side, and they're now going to cross the course and begin their warm-up process for racing.
See them in action a little bit later on, probably 15-20 minutes away as you...
Probably 40 minutes actually.
That far ahead?
Yeah, from their boats, about 40 minutes roughly it takes to get down the course, do all the warm-up bursts and practice starts before you get yourself onto the landing stage.
Just watching Leander now. They need to make sure they navigate these final couple of 100 metres without incident.
Yeah, really class crew here. I guess they'll be back tomorrow. They'll be hoping they can win this event.
Chance. And we've talked a lot about this already, Adrian, but they have not had to dig as deep as they might in a really tight tussle. They've had it relatively straightforward today, and that'll make a difference for their opponents tomorrow.
Yeah, the recovery will be much easier now after this. They'll go back, do maybe a little paddle on the ergo, and then to flush out the lactate, and then have some lunch and go and rest up, sleep the rest of the afternoon, watch a bit of Netflix.
What you do. Well, it could be setting up an all Leander final, because Leander Club A are through to the final. That will be one half of it, and they could face Leander Club B, or it may be the Tideway Scullers School. We'll find out at 11:40 this morning, the other semi-final. Well done to Nottingham R.C. and Leander Club, the other boat, getting this far. They're the winners. Leander Club A into the final of the town.